Hi everybody, I'm Don Brennan from Post Media. I'm here to introduce you to the You Be the Boss poll that we recently conducted. Over 5,800 responses in less than 4 days. You know, I've been covering the Ottawa Senators since their inception, and I've never seen a more disappointing season as this, both with the fact that they went from this close to making the Stanley Cup Finals last spring to 30th place this year, and all the turmoil off the ice, the talk about Erik Karlsson being traded, everything that goes along with it. Anyways, I think that you people feel the same way because a lot of you, overwhelming number of people responded to our poll, and here are the results. We started off our poll asking a very important question. Who do you blame for this lousy Senators season? We had 4 options: owner, coaches, players, and general manager. 32% of you said the owner leading the way. I, for one, agree. I think a lot of distractions happened this year. I think that the schedule is a big reason why they struggled so early in November. Agreeing to go to Sweden, to do that, they had to agree to 19 back-to-back games when they came back and ungodly road trips. I mean, really making it difficult for them to string together any type of momentum. I think the buck stops at the top. I'm going to agree with you there. Question number 2 had to do with the most pressing issue going into the summer. What should be the top priority going forward? Of the many options we gave you, 65% of you responded, keep Erik Karlsson. You know, this is a very good question, a very hockey-minded decision that has to be made here. I think that you get a chance to have Erik Karlsson on your team once in a generation. I think he's a future Hall of Famer, and we're not going to see the likes of his kind again. I think you should be building around an Erik Karlsson rather than trading him. So I have to agree with that. Keeping Erik Karlsson is the top priority going forward. Question number 3 asks, what should GM Pierre Dorion do with Karlsson? And 50% of you responded, make him an offer he can't refuse when negotiations begin on July the 1st. You know, Erik Karlsson has made it clear that he wants to remain in Ottawa. He's going to do what he takes. He also wants market value, and that's only fair for a guy that played for less than market value the last 3 or 4 years. I think making him a fair offer and a big offer is the way to go here, so I agree with the fans. Sticking with Erik Karlsson, question number 4 asks, would you offer him the longest term possible, an 8-year contract? 75% said yes. I think this is a no-brainer. I mean, you have a chance to lock this guy up, give him a contract that's going to keep him here. I think you've got to give him as much as you can in terms of term, and he's not going to take anything less anyways. He's going to be signing a contract for 8 years no matter where he is, so you got to offer him an 8-year contract. I agree. One more with Erik Karlsson. We asked, how much should the average annual value be on Karlsson's new contract? Again, I think this is a no-brainer. I think a lot of the fans agreed with this. You have to offer him something in the $10 to $11 million per year range. He's going to get that somewhere. Other top players in the league are getting that kind of money. Shea Weber, Montreal, the defenseman there. PK Subban in Nashville, they're getting around that amount. Connor McDavid. It's fair to offer Erik Karlsson a similar amount. I think that's the way you go. Moving from Erik Karlsson to Coach Guy Boucher, this is a very interesting one. It's a matter that's going to be addressed very shortly. I think probably when the playoffs end, because I think that Pierre Dorion is going to look to see who becomes available. But we asked the question, should Boucher be fired? We gave the options yes, no, and give him 20 games next season to see how he does. The majority says, 42% says yes, 39% want to give him 20 games, and 19% say keep him. Here, I believe that Guy Boucher should have another chance. I mean, he was so good last year in bringing them to the Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Final. This year was maybe an aberration. Maybe he learned some things that he's going to change. I think that he deserves another chance, at least one more year, or at least the start of one more year to see how he does. So I agree with 39% of the readers on this one. Our next question asks, if Boucher does not return, who should be the coach? We gave a number of options. The majority says Alain Vigneault, the fired New York Rangers coach. He's an Ottawa guy. He's had much success. He's brought 2 teams to the Stanley Cup Finals in his great career in the NHL. And next in line was Mark Crawford. Well, considering I think that Boucher should be kept, it's a tough one for me to answer. But, you know, if you're going to bring in somebody, if you could get Alain Vigneault to agree to a contract in Ottawa, He makes a lot of money. I don't know if the owner here is going to pay him that much, but Alain Vigneault obviously would be a great choice. Again, I think this is a stretch, this one. I can't see the Senators paying Alain Vigneault to be their coach. Our next question asks readers, why were the Senators so bad this season? We gave the options: goaltending, poorly constructed team, team defense, coaching, off-ice distractions, my favorite, and a lack of scoring. 33% led the way by saying goaltending, and I can't disagree. I mean, there were a lot of chances given up, more chances than in the past, but Craig Anderson was not the same guy he was last year. Neither was Mike Condon. So if you're going to actually pinpoint an area where they have to get better and what the problem was in terms of on-ice play, goaltending is the way to go. Our next question asks, what should be done to improve the goaltending situation? Do you A, trade Craig Anderson, B, nothing, Anderson and Condon will bounce back, or C, trade Mike Condon? 38% said trade Craig Anderson. Now, this is a tricky one here because you're not going to find a lot of teams around the league that are going to want a 37-year-old goaltender making over $4 million coming off a bad season. So to trade Craig Anderson, unless you catch somebody sleeping at the wheel, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. My thought on this would be just to play it out. I mean, I don't think you have a choice. See if Craig Anderson and Mike Condon bounce back. I'm not sure that Craig Anderson's ever going to be the guy he was last season. I think Mike Condon will be a lot better. So I wouldn't even be surprised to see a battle for the number 1 spot next year.
Good.
Our next question had to do with Colin White, the former first rounder who in his first season as a pro spent most of it in Belleville playing for the Belleville Senators. We asked, where do you see him fitting in next season? Do you see him as a bottom 6 forward, meaning on the 3rd or 4th line? Do you see him as a top 6 forward with the Senators on one of the top 2 lines? Or do you see him back in Belleville? What's better for his development? Leading the way was as a bottom 6 forward, in a checking type of a role, 3rd or 4th line. 48% of you said that. I think that's probably pretty fair. I think eventually Colin White is going to be a top 6 guy. He's going to be on one of your first 2 lines. But I mean, he's only going to be 21 next year. I think that maybe he needs a little bit more time to learn the NHL game. He's had a lot of time in Belleville. I think Belleville's a thing of the past. Bottom 6 forward in Ottawa next season for Colin White. We also asked, what position should be the number 1 priority for the GM in terms of adding depth? Obviously, we gave the options of defense, goal, center, and wing. The majority of you, 35%, said defense, while the smallest amount was at wing, 13%. I'm going to lean towards the smallest amount here on this one. I think on defense, granted, there's a good chance you're going to lose Erik Karlsson in the offseason, but you have a lot of guys coming up that are just going to be able to fill the roles. You have a lot of depth. You may not have a number 1 guy, a big number 1 guy, but you have Christian Jaros, you have Christian Wolanin, who showed what he could do this year. You have Ben Harper, you have Andreas Englund for a shutdown guy with Jaros maybe down the future. I think that position is going to be pretty solid. On wing, I think you're lacking scoring. Up the middle is always a key area, and you got Logan Brown coming up the middle. He's going to be your big centerpiece up the middle. That could need some more boosting too, in terms of scoring and offensive ability in the middle, but I really think that they need some help on the wing in terms of getting some offense going. So my pick would be wing. Pierre Dorion and Eugene Melnyk told the town hall sessions last week that this should be a 3 to 5 year rebuild plan in terms of becoming a Stanley Cup contender. I don't know about that. I think it can be done quicker. You look at the Colorado Avalanche this season, finished right near the bottom of the league. Right now they're competing with the Nashville Predators in the first round of the playoffs. You get to the playoffs, anything can happen. I think if you're in the playoffs, you're a contender for the Stanley Cup these days. I think that the 3 musts to success, to change the fortunes here, to change the way things are going, I'm going to start with number 1, Eugene Melnyk. I think if he sells the team and a new owner comes in, I think you're going to bring in some fresh financial wherewithal. I think you're going to bring in you're going to knock off the distractions and some stability up top. I think that's key. You've got to have some stability up top. Right now, a lot of fans are dissatisfied with the ownership. Right now, there's a lot of questions being asked, and there's instability. I think number 2, the goaltending has to come around at some point. Now, they banked a lot on Philip Gustafsson, who they obtained in the trade for Derek Brassard. by all counts, it sounds like he's going to be a real good goaltender. How long is it going to take him to develop? The Senators say they want to wait, give him a full season in Belleville next year. He's only 19. That's fair. I think there's been some cases where guys have come up at the age of 20 or thereabouts and really made an impact in the NHL. Who knows? This guy could have a shot next year if things don't work out with Craig Anderson and Mike Condon. So I think that the goaltending is a key issue. They've banked a lot on Philip Gustafsson, and I think he's got to come through for them. Now, number 3, I mean, if we're going to come to grips with the fact that Erik Karlsson is going to be traded because you're not going to let him walk away as an unrestricted free agent in a year from now, then it comes down to what you're going to get for him. I mean, I think that I have a lot of faith in Pierre Dorion that he's going to look at every option and he's going to decide which is the best. I think there's going to be a lot of offers on the table, and he's going to have to find the right mix of prospects, draft picks, guys that he can trust going forward, guys that make this team. But this is going to be the single biggest trade in Ottawa Senators history. What happened with the Jason Spezza trade, where they traded Spezza for 3 or 4 pieces a couple of years ago, that can't happen again because it was a terrible trade for the Ottawa Senators. They've got to come out of the Erik Karlsson trade smelling like roses. That's the way this team is going to turn things around.